Hello and welcome to PS4 O'clock. My name's Leon Hurley and this week I'm talking to official PlayStation Magazine editor Ben Wilson about everything that happened at Gamescom. Hello everyone, it is Leon here and I am with Ben.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about Gamescom, which happened, a couple of days ago by the time you listen to this, and oh god, so much stuff came out of it.
Well, Gamescom's still happening, but the PS4 press conference is what we're specifically about, the Sony stuff.
I'm looking at our list of what we've got to talk about now. It's just, there's so much stuff. The most important thing, of course, is the release date, which is going to be the 29th in the UK. That's a couple of weeks after America, who get it the 15th, which was to be expected, really. I mean, America always get it first.
I think I think I, like everyone, would have liked to have seen it been the 15th across the world. I think it is cutting it fine for Christmas here, but it's still just about enough time. You've got 4 weeks there for your parents to, or your loved ones, or brothers and sisters, etc., to make sure that they buy you a PS4 instead of a big box set of socks. I think it's we'd all like to be earlier, but genuinely quite pleased with that. That is definitely coming to the UK this year. I think we were all sceptical as to whether that would happen, but it is happening for real.
I mean, I was surprised. I was genuinely expecting kind of late October, early November, so 15th for the UK would have been within what I was expecting. But as you say, I mean, it's good that we finally got a date. The pre-order situation still hasn't changed, so if you haven't pre-ordered by now, you won't be getting one on the 29th. Only people that pre-ordered before August the 6th will be guaranteed a 29th of November delivery. But part of that shortage is to do with keeping stock in the shop. So at this point, if you haven't pre-ordered, you're probably going to be better off going into the shops on the 29th and buying one there and then.
Prepare your tent and your camping materials and get ready to start queuing from about 3 o'clock on the afternoon of Thursday the 28th.
Now, one of the more interesting things I think with the show, they started it off, I think it was a bit of a shonky start. Something I think went wrong with some of the videos and lights and things, but they started it off with Shuhei Yoshida in a chair just browsing the XMB, which I think was really interesting, just to see the menus in use, to see how it worked. You could see that there were this game specific messaging. You could see how the tiles organise themselves when you're going through your game content. But the most interesting thing was that he could browse his friends' video streams, so he could see what his friends were playing. Much like a system called OnLive did, you could basically drop in as a spectator, watch other people's games, which they've talked about. But it was interesting to see just this tile, this mosaic of little video thumbnails. And he dropped in, I believe it was Scott Rhodes, another Sony exec. He watched him playing Killzone, and you could see his face live in the corner of the screen, so Scott Rhodes' face. And it didn't say anything, but I wonder if the 3D camera can actually do sort of face tracking and automatically put that thumbnail in, because obviously you're not going to sit in exactly the right place so the camera puts you in the middle of its little window, but I'm guessing it can automatically go, there's a face, draw a box around it, and then you can have in-game messaging, in-game chatting rather, and you can see people's faces as they're playing. And then on top of that, he basically watched his game being played for a while and then just pressed a button and he dropped in, he started playing, and it was instant. Obviously they may have shortened the timings, but it was really impressive just to see the ease of the use, being able to watch other people's games and then just drop straight in and start playing.
And then they did actually start talking about games, etc. It was quite the baffling intro.
I genuinely think something went wrong. I think there were meant to be more whistles and bells, and there was a bit of a problem. I should also mention as well, they announced Twitch will be their sort of streaming partner, whether that's direct between PS3s or where the shared videos go. But they haven't confirmed that before. They were sort of skirting around who their partners might be. But yeah, so that all looks good.
So on the games front, what for you was the stood out? What was the one you'd pick above all else? There's loads on this list.
There's loads, yeah. I mean, there are 33 games confirmed for what they kind of call launch window. So the first month or so that the PlayStation 4 is out, there are 33 games. I mean, it's overwhelming. I'm still being swayed by the indie stuff. Like, I'm really excited for Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, simply because I played Dear Esther, which is a PC game. It's a very strange little kind of story-based game. You basically just wander and uncover a story. You explore. There's not really anything else to do but walk around, but it's beautifully done. So I'm really excited for that. Again, Killzone, I think I'm looking forward to. Just I've always liked Killzone. I'm a little disappointed that Second Son is still
next year.
Yeah, I was hoping they might sort of bring that forward, because that still looks really good. But other than that, I'm interested in the big.
Microsoft's a big coup for to get that one console digitally. I think
God,
it's
yeah,
great to have that
Minecraft
on.
is a really big deal. I know it's
Yeah.
it's quite an old game. It's been around for a while, but it's only just been knocked off like the sort of the top of the sales charts. It is a massive kind of, I wouldn't say a coup because obviously it's an old game, but for Sony to finally get it, and it's coming to PS4, PS3, and Vita. It'll be interesting to see how that goes down because I guess there's a lot of PlayStation people that won't have played it yet. I've played it on several different formats, and I must admit I'm not a huge fan. I build a house, I kind of wander around a bit, and then I'm done. But then maybe the social side of PS4 and the ability to kind of meet up and share gaming experiences with people will make it a more compelling experience for me.
In terms of the AAA stuff as well, kind of your Assassins, Call of Duties, FIFAs, etc.
Yeah.
We've got a man out there, Joel, who's played most of these at E3 and is probably playing them as we're talking here. Like he's been impressed by all that stuff. I think you can't understate how impressive this launch line is compared to any other PlayStation. Now, with PS3, I to this day love PS3, but the launch line I've had like things like Lair and Motorstorm was good, but it was probably the best game in that lineup. An 8 out of 10 game. So let's not knock the fact that there are 30 odd games coming, and the AAA stuff. I mean, if you've got,
let's just run through the list here. I mean, so these are the main kind of AAA games coming to PS4 in the first month or so of launch. So we've got Drive Club, Killzone Shadowfall, Knack, The Playroom, which comes pre-installed on every PS4 anyway. We've got Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Battlefield 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, FIFA 4, PlanetSide 2...
FIFA 14.
Sorry, FIFA 14.
That's an exclusive.
PlanetSide 2, Watch Dogs, Blacklight Retribution, Contrast, DC Universe Online, Minecraft, Lego Marvel Superheroes, Madden NFL 25, Need for Speed Rivals, and Skylander Swap Force. That's a huge lineup to choose from, like pretty much from the word go.
And then digitally, you got Basement Crawl, Doki Doki Universe, Flower, Hohokum, Just Dance 2014. We're all buying that, right? N++, NBA Live.
This isn't just.
And then this is just more games. Yeah, NBA 2K14, Pinball Arcade, Pool Nation Extreme. Eh? Who's looking forward to that one? Resogun, Super Motherload. I nearly said then. Tiny Brains, Warframe, and War Thunder. I mean, yeah. Between now and Christmas, if you can play and finish all them, then you can have the Platinum Club page that's in the magazine currently written by Ian Wilson, because I haven't met many more dedicated gamers than him, and I think even he would struggle to get through that lot between the release date of the 29th of November and Christmas Day. It is quite the selection.
Yeah, and I think it makes it even... That video where Shuhei Yoshida shows, this is how you share your game, suddenly that actually is less of a joke, because I can see people having to swap and move around just to be able to get through everything. There's no way you can buy and play all these games at once. And that last list of games, actually, I did mix up some of the choices there, but that was a lot of the digital stuff, and they further at Gamescom really, really drove home that kind of indie kind of approachability, and there's a huge sort of selection of indie games, and I think that's going to be one of the more interesting things, because we've got these big hitters, we've got the Drive Clubs, we've got the CODs, we've got the Killzones, but then you're going to have the smaller range of more interesting games, like everyone's gone for the Rapture. There was a game which isn't a launch game called Rime, which basically looks like a very colourful version of Ico that everyone sort of latched onto straight away, because it has that kind of Sony Japan beautiful kind of artistic feel to it. Nobody quite knows what it's about yet, but it's a wealth of experience. There's a volume of content, and there's a huge variety as well, which I think is massively exciting.
Well, I mean, we've spoken to quite a few devs, and I don't think there hasn't been a single one who's not stepped out and evangelised Sony for the manner in which they've basically opened PS4 up for development from an indie perspective, and I think as the competition gets greater in terms of these games having to compete with your iPad and your iPhone, etc., handheld gaming, I think that's exactly what this console needs, because your AAA titles, your EAs and your Activisions and your Ubis, they're going to keep pushing stuff out there, but you want that broad spectrum of stuff that you'll play for 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there, rather than just needing new AAA stuff all the time. And I think that's Sony's priority. You went to GDC, didn't you, in Brighton, and that seems to be the overwhelming feedback from indie developers, was that PS4 is a dream to work on.
It's an easy system, and Sony are very approachable with their help. All the indie devs I've spoken to, they are treated sort of equally as AAA devs in terms of support, and there's a dev XNet, they can contact people if they're having specific issues. I want to talk about second screen actually stuff now that you mentioned it, but I just quickly mention before we move on that a really interesting thing they did say was that you could buy, say, Call of Duty on PS3 if you can't wait, and then you can upgrade to the digital version on PS4 for £10, which is amazing. So I thought they were going to say 10% off. You get like a little bit of a discount. But if you can't get a PS4 straight away, but you want to play things like Call of Duty, and I've forgotten the rest of the games now, I'm afraid.
Battlefield and
FIFA, yeah. So if you want to play those on PS3 while you're saving up for PS4, you can, and then when PS4 comes out, you can upgrade to the digital version for £10.
Sorry, it might be Battlefield and Watch Dogs.
Yeah. I think maybe I heard Assassin's Creed.
It's a really good deal.
Yeah, that's incredible, because there's a lot of people kind of not sure about what games to get because they want PS4 but they want to play the game, and that makes that decision a little bit easier. Second screen, so that's what I wanted to get onto. That's been shown off a lot more. We've seen Beyond, funnily enough, on PS3 will have second screen functionality. Obviously it's not PS4, so let's move on to the PS4 stuff. We've seen The Division. They've finally shown off how that works on second screen, and that's looking really exciting because you can highlight players, buff players, you can hold it on the pad, moving a little drone around on your iPad. If you touch a player on the iPad, they glow in the PS4 game. The level of interactivity is incredible. People, I think, were expecting maybe kind of just inventory management and kind of scrolling around a map, but you are playing in the PS4 game world, and you are having a visible impact within it, which I think is going to be interesting. If they're doing that now, what's it going to be like a year down the line?
I mean, for me, I'd love to see in FIFA you be able to do play the matches on screen, but then do all your team changing and do your transfer market stuff on the second screen. It's just much easier having that at your fingertips than doing it on a console. And I think once this technology starts infiltrating games across the board, you're going to play PlayStation games in a completely different way than you've ever known. Yeah,
I think that could be like one of the biggest game changers of this generation. Like you say, when the technology settles in and it just becomes standard that you have additional content or additional access on other screens. And obviously Vita could be a big part of that because there's a price drop coming, and pretty much everything that was announced at Gamescom is also on Vita, especially a lot of the indie games. They also showed off actually the remote play of Assassin's Creed 4, which I thought looked incredible, where they were playing Assassin's Creed 4 on PS4 on the big screen, and then they just switched over to PS Vita, and it looked identical. No loss of quality. You were basically playing PS4 quality Assassin's Creed 4 on your Vita, and it looked lovely. It looked smooth in terms of the transfer. So that, I think, is going to be huge.
Yeah, very impressed.
And then finally, just one last thing, is they also announced a deal with various ISP providers. In the UK, it's Orange and Virgin Media, where they're going to try and basically, they haven't spilled the full details yet, but there will be a sort of a preferential kind of internet setup in partnership with Sony and PS4, where you'll get kind of, I think it'll be like sort of reserved bandwidth and sort of prioritized speeds. So the digital future that PS4 is promising is obviously dependent on a level of internet kind of functionality which may not be as widely available across the country and Europe as Sony might like. So they've offered this deal up that Virgin have basically said we're doing it, but they haven't said any details yet. But you will be able to get a PS4-centric kind of gaming biased internet service for your PS4 that will hopefully let it achieve the potential that Sony are planning.
This is absolutely critical. I think my main argument to people when they say that box games are dying out and it's a completely digital future is that in the UK we just don't have the infrastructure to handle that yet. And for me, in my head anyway, I think we're still a few years away from it. You then look at other countries that play PlayStation, and there's many hundreds across the globe where their infrastructure is even more archaic than ours. And so I think for us to keep up with America, we need changes to be made like this that enable gamers to actually be able to play games online seamlessly without lag. And I think this is a really big step forward from Sony in terms of delivering that. Probably quite a boon for Virgin and Orange, because if it takes off and they prove that it works, then people are going to switch to them just to play games. So I think it's a clever move all round from Sony, Orange and Virgin.
Yeah, and then that download, obviously the download side of it, that's probably going to be more practical sooner for people to take this deal. Like the beautiful trailer shows a man hitting download, Killzone single player, and makes a cup of tea, comes back and he's playing it. Like, that's not going to happen for most people, but this brings you a step closer.
As a man, before we finish, I do also have to say, as a man who's a sucker for a coloured pad, and in fact I've got a red one sat on the desk in front of me. At home I've got a black one, a white one and a blue one that I use religiously, even though it's just an aesthetic thing. I was really happy to see coloured pads are back.
Yeah, and they look really nice because there's a different construction to the PS4 pad where there is like a grip sort of section, so the colour is on the non-grip bit, and it does look really nice.
Like black and red and black.
So it's black,
black and blue.
The grip part, the textured part of the grips and the touchpad is all black, and then there's a kind of a decal almost around the sides, and it looks really nice. There's also actually on the peripheral front there's a vertical stand, so you can stand it up like you could your PS2, and this is an extra level of it not falling over.
If you're the one man out there who actually did use, many of us bought vertical stands for the PS2. If you're the one man out there who did actually use yours, then get in touch, because we'd love to hear from a man who genuinely did.
I think it's Sony covering their behinds, really, isn't it? Because if you stand up your PS4 and then it accidentally gets knocked over and broken, and they go, "Well, were you using the stand?" then you're out of any kind of complaints. You can't really say much then. And there's also actually stands, new pads, and there's a charging station they showed off, which is like a 2-pad charging dock, which will be handy because obviously the PS4 charges the pads in sleep mode. So if you got the pad stand next to the PS4, you finish your game, you put the pad in the stand, go to bed, and it will just charge overnight and it'll be ready in the morning. So you'll never, in theory, have to worry about charging your pad again.
All that it's missing is a hat stand.
So there you go. That's a huge amount of Gamescom stuff that's happened. There's loads more on the site. We're still updating stuff as we speak. But the main things to take away is that PS4 will be out in the UK on the 29th. There are going to be 33 games over the first sort of month, and that kind of launch window. And there's going to be preferential kind of ISPs, internet service provider setups for anyone who wants to get the best kind of connection speeds for digital downloads, online gaming, and so on. They've also announced red and blue PS4 pads, charging station, and a vertical stand for those who want to stand their PS4 up. So there you go. Leave a comment. There's loads on the site from everything that happened, all the news, all the quotes, all the screens, everything's there. Leave any comments if you want to know more, and we'll speak to you next week.